Attention Niners fans and watch aficionados. Elevate your game with the Breitling Chronomat San Francisco 49ers Team Edition, now at Topper Jewelers. Celebrate the NFL's 104th anniversary with a Swiss-made timepiece that blends sophistication with sporting capability. Introducing the Breitling Chronomat, crafted in honor of the San Francisco 49ers. This 42mm marvel features a striking crimson and white dial that's finished with the iconic red and gold 49ers logo placed prominently at 9 o'clock. Limited to just 104 pieces, this special watch showcases your team spirit with distinctive colors and logos. Powered by Breitling's in-house B01 chronograph movement, it combines precision with a bold design. And with a 70-hour power reserve, 200 meters of water resistance, and a sapphire crystal, it's built for both action and elegance. Catch this exclusive piece at Topper Jewelers, where tradition meets the thrill of the game. But you'll want to hustle, because once these 104 pieces are gone, they're gone forever. Discover this 49ers edition, as well as other iconic Breitling watches, like the legendary Navitimer and Mighty Super Ocean, now at Topper Jewelers. And while supplies last, mention this ad to receive a special gift with your next Breitling order.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
It's time. It's time. Time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
What's up, faithful? You're listening to another episode of the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle Podcast, a part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Brian Renick. He's Al Sacco. And Kyle Shanahan lost a game to his dad, Steve Spagnuolo, again. And the 49ers are now 3-4 in a season that seems eerily similar to the 2020 season. The Super Bowl hangover is real. Al, I didn't get to watch a second of this game live because the Trash Pandas were playing an absolutely marathon tournament. We played 5 games on Sunday, each game needing to win to continue. And yeah, I didn't watch this game.
Did you guys win the tournament?
We came in third. We lost. Okay.
That's still we lost in the semis. Do you get like medals or trophies for that, or is it just
they got T-shirts? They got T-shirts that show that they came in third place. So yeah, it was a memorable experience. That team is full of heart, and it was such a joy. And honestly, like I didn't miss watching that game. And
I also had a memorable experience from 4:30 to 7:30 Eastern on my part, but I don't think it was as joyful as a memorable experience as you had.
It sounds like it was not. Yeah.
You know, man, I've been thinking a lot about how I want to approach this today because I didn't think they were going to win. We talked about it. Probably going to lose this game.
Yeah.
What I did have in my head, though, was that they were going to come out and they were going to give the Chiefs all that they could handle because this was a big game for the Niners because this is a team that has owned them and has taken 2 rings away from them. I understand there were injuries. I understand Deebo went out right before the game and they weren't expecting it. I understand that Aiyuk got hurt during the game. I understand that Jennings wasn't there. I understand all those things. Chiefs have injuries too. What I saw in that game was injuries. Sure, they play a part of your best players, but that's not why they lost the game. They lost the game because they played like absolute garbage. Because Brock Purdy played like absolute garbage. Because offensively, they look like garbage. Because their defense isn't good enough. The secondary played well, but overall, the defense isn't good enough. And you know what? And maybe where I want to lead this show, Kyle Shanahan is not having a good season. It happens. Players don't have good seasons. Right now, the coach is not having a good season. And I was curious where the fan base was with him. Because Kyle has been very Teflon. He tends to get a lot of passes on a lot of things, look how far he's gone in the playoffs, and deservedly so. When you win all those playoff games and you make it to the Super Bowl, you do get a pass, but he's not having a good year. And I was curious what the fan base thought. Let's put out a poll that has about 1,000 responses to it. And I just said, grade him so far through 7 games. What does the fan base think? I'm curious. I didn't put A as an option because when you're 3-4 and you blow 2 division games too, in the second half to teams that are worse than you, and you show up the way you did against the Chiefs, you're not getting an A. So I didn't even put it there. B, C, D, and F. Right now, 5% of the fan base gives them a B, 28% C, 46% D, and 21% F. If it's me, if Al Sacco is given the grade here, he's getting a D so far for this season. I understand there are injuries. I get it. But look at what's happened this year. You lose to the Rams, who are way more beat up than you were when you played them.
Yeah.
The team that you had a lot more talent than, and you blow it. Play the Cardinals, team that is not anywhere near you talent-wise, and you blow it. Minnesota might just be really good and you lost. It is what it is. But this game against the Chiefs, you come out and you did not show up. Your team didn't look ready to play at all. I don't know what the hell your quarterback was doing. We'll talk about that. No idea. Yeah. Your special teams are a shit show. Again. Tell you, man, it does seem like the season from hell. It does seem like the Super Bowl hangover. Nothing's going right. Another huge injury with Aiyuk. Sucks for him. Also, contract-wise, we'll talk about that. You want Aiyuk to get healthy and get back, but the Niners invested a lot of money in him, and contract-wise now, we may not even see him until this time next year, depending on the severity of the knee and everything else. So it's just a rough day for Niners fans. So how do I want to approach this? I don't know. I guess I'm just going to have a therapy session for myself, and the listeners can come along with us.
Yeah. It sounds like torn ACL and MCL for Brandon Aiyuk, which is obviously not what you want to hear. Nick Bosa, suffered a similar complex knee injury in the 2020 season a month earlier than Brandon Aiyuk did. Nick Bosa was cleared for activity 10 months after that knee injury. So, don't really know what to expect from Brandon Aiyuk, but it's pretty safe to assume that his presence will not be felt on this team until well into the regular season of the 2025 season. But you also drafted 2 wide receivers in this past draft. You still have Juwan Jennings. You still have Deebo Samuel. Like, the loss of Brandon Aiyuk should not affect this team as much as it would affect other teams, just based on, again, the talent that they have there. And because you also have George Kittle as a pass catcher. But we'll see. I mean, some people are already saying, hey, they're going to need to make a trade. Well, why make a trade? Like, you got to see what you have in your rookies. I don't give a shit about Kyle Shanahan's reluctance to play rookies. Like, he's lost that ability to use that excuse because you're the one that drafted a wide receiver at the end of the first round, and you're the one that drafted a wide receiver again in the 5th round. Like, you made it a point to invest in that position, and now you're going to need to use that investment because you've lost your arguably your top pass catcher, if you will. It's just the thing that frustrates me is this offense just seems worse. It just seems worse without Christian McCaffrey. And if your offense is reliant upon an all-world, like, generational talent at the running back position, then your offense isn't very good. Your scheme isn't going to be very good. And I don't know if he's just struggling to adapt to the loss of Christian McCaffrey when he didn't anticipate that. But we're 7 weeks in.
It's 2 months into the season.
Yeah, you should have been able to pivot by now. And
I'll give you this
David
argument
Lombardi,
with that because
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, but so Kyle's offense has traditionally got a lot of yards and don't score a lot of points. Some exceptions, the Falcons in 2016 and the Niners last year in 2019.
They're good between the 20s.
Points, but good between the 20s. And we're seeing a lot of the same issues that plagued this team before McCaffrey was here. To the beginning of 2022 and 2021, the team had a lot of trouble scoring. They were scoring like 23 points a game. And you said, well, we got Aiyuk and we have Kittle and we have Deebo. What the hell is going on? How can you not score points? They're feels like they're right back where they are. The red zone trips, what are they up to now? 17 red zone trips without a touchdown. It's insane. And I don't feel like he's creative in the red zone. It's over and over again. It's the same things. And Brock had 3 turnovers in Chiefs territory, one on the 5 that was, I don't care how much pressure he had on him, throw the ball out of the back of the end zone. You just force it in between when there's 2 people on Chris Conley. Like he did things where I'm like, did Jimmy Garoppolo switch bodies with you? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The 3 interceptions for Brock. And I know I'm jumping around here, but now I'm thinking about 3 interceptions for Brock. The first one he just forced. There were, again, 2 Chiefs there. Like, okay, brain fart, whatever, move on. The second one, if you watch it on the tape, he was throwing before Bell was out of his break. Now, Shanahan and Purdy both said that it was on Purdy. Yeah. So maybe Bell ran the right route, and did the ball just slip out of Brock's hand? I don't know. And the third interception was a dumb Jimmy Garoppolo type interception where you're getting pressure on you and you panic or whatever the hell he did, and he tries to force the ball in there. It was terrible. So again, you mentioned like the offense and everything like that. Is he that thrown off by not having McCaffrey? Does he need McCaffrey that bad? Maybe. And you always say this, and I was going to text you, but I knew you were at the tournament. When Deebo went out in the beginning of the game, I thought to myself, well, oh shit. Is it going to be one of those games now where they can't do anything because they expected Deebo was there and now Deebo's not there and they can't function? And sure enough, whether it was because of that or not, but Deebo was supposed to be there. He wasn't, and they couldn't function. So criticism with Kyle right now is warranted. Has he been a good head coach? Absolutely. Is he one of the better head coaches in the league? I still think so. He's not elite. Andy Reid is elite, and Andy Reid works him every time he coaches against him. Yeah. But he's in the upper echelon of these head coaches. But there's things this year he's not having a good season. There are things that are worrying me. Doesn't mean he can't rebound, but right now Kyle is struggling as a head coach, just as a lot of the players are struggling on the field.
Yeah, and like I said, there's just no creativity, and like you watch like Ben Johnson in Detroit, and you watch that Lions Cowboys game, and you know it became a laugher. And when it became a laugher, like there were multiple times where Ben Johnson has drawn up plays trying to get one of his linemen a touchdown, right? And you're like, wow, that's like it is what it is. Again, it shows just a level of creativity that we don't really see from Kyle Shanahan. And, you know, play action is down. I just don't understand what the offensive identity is for this 49ers team this season. It just doesn't seem like they have one. And it's like Kyle is just floundering to find something, and he's just not. And, you know, what I was going to say earlier is, you know, David Lombardi tweeted out something today about how, you know, this offense misses Christian McCaffrey. And I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, like, Grant Cohn quote tweeted that and said, you know, Christian McCaffrey's yards per carry against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl was 3.2, whereas Jordan Mason's yards per carry against the Chiefs on Sunday was 4.1. So it's not Christian McCaffrey on the ground.
Yeah, it's the passing game. It's the passing game.
But then Sterling Bennett posted. Sterling Bennett is at KNBR. Also covers the NFL for Total Apex Sports. Oh, I'm sorry, 95.7 The Game, not KNBR. But he tweeted out this graphic, which I thought was interesting. And it shows Brock Purdy stats with and without Christian McCaffrey. I think this was prior to the Chiefs game, you know, because he did have his 3 interceptions. But prior to the Chiefs game, 745 pass plays with McCaffrey, 313 without. With McCaffrey, completion percentage of 67%. Without McCaffrey, 66%. Yards per attempt, 8.8. Same without McCaffrey. Touchdown to interception ratio, 40-14 with McCaffrey, 16-5 without, which is actually a better ratio than 40-14. His rating is 105.7 versus 105.5. His EPA per pass play is 0.21, plus 0.21. Without McCaffrey, it's plus 0.20. His EPA per pass attempt is plus 0.32 with McCaffrey, plus 0.32 without. His average air yards is 8.0 with McCaffrey, 9.1 without. His percentage of yards after the catch is 50% with McCaffrey, 35% without McCaffrey. And then explosive pass rate or pass percentage is 22.4 with McCaffrey and 20.4 without. Now, again, that is with Aiyuk or Samuel on the field. So again, Brock Purdy's performance in the passing game is damn near identical with or without McCaffrey on the field. So the question becomes, where is it that they are just absolutely floundering and lost without McCaffrey? I think you brought it up. I would imagine you could point to the red zone as being the biggest one.
They're getting to the red zone. They're just not finishing.
Yeah. And again, that just goes to show that Kyle Shanahan just has no creativity in the red zone. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why he doesn't start looking at other teams that, have wildly successful red zone offenses like the Chiefs and start taking some pages from them. Like, it just doesn't make sense that a guy that is often dubbed as an offensive genius struggles to score points. Like, that doesn't, you're not an offensive genius if you can't score points. I don't give a shit how many yards you rack up. If you can't score points, you're not an offensive genius. And so I don't know.
I think there's a stubbornness there.
Sure. But like, is he so stubborn that he's willing to get his ass kicked by the Chiefs every time he plays them? Like, at some point you got to learn, and you got to change, you got to adapt. And I just don't know why he hasn't. Like, losing 2 Super Bowls to the same team and the same defensive coordinator isn't enough for you to change some things up a little bit. Like, you really still think it's your system or bust? Because here's the other issue. It certainly seems like any time that Kyle Shanahan goes up against a top-tier, top-level defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, Mike McDonald, Jim Schwartz, Brian Flores, right? Bill Belichick, they absolutely take his lunch every single time. That's a problem. You can't be an offensive genius if you just beat up on the shitty defenses. You need to be an offensive genius. They know what to
expect, and he doesn't stray from what they're expecting. Right. I guess. Brian, this just came through. Deebo Samuel is in the hospital with fluid in his lungs, and he has pneumonia.
Oh, damn!
Are you fucking kidding me? You're kidding me. Can this season get any more insane? It is the season from hell. It is Super Bowl hangover, bad juju, whatever you want to call it. So the Niners get their rookie first-round wide receiver back, who was shot. Somebody shot him.
Chest.
He literally got shot. He comes back. On the day that he comes back, your wide receiver who you played $30 million a year for, who wasn't having a great season and was sort of the ire of some fans, but we're all rooting for him to get back. We want Brandon Aiyuk. We need Brandon Aiyuk. He tears his fucking ACL. You do everything wide receiver. Deebo Samuel gets pneumonia. He gets pneumonia. Christian McCaffrey has not one foot with ACL tendonitis or whatever the hell it is. He has 2. He's got 2. Dude's going to Germany for this is the most insane season. It's like, it just feels, it's different than the other years where they were 3-4 or 4-4, and they came back and said, okay, the second half of the season, they were great. Just ain't that this year. The team isn't as good. They're missing pieces that they're not getting Hargrave back, most likely, maybe in the playoffs. They're not getting Aiyuk back. I don't know if they're going to get McCaffrey back. And if they do, I don't expect them to come back and be Christian McCaffrey right off the bat. It's just bad vibes, man. The football gods, it feel like they said to the 49ers, listen, we gave you your window. We gave you your chance last year. You took the ball in overtime. You didn't go for, you made 2 special teams miscues. Football gods are closing the window. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Can things change? You never know. It's the NFL. But the way it's gone right now, man, it's just, you cannot make this stuff up. He's got pneumonia. We want all these people. I want them all to be healthy. That's paramount over sports, obviously. Yeah. But when you look at the sports aspect of this, holy shit. Like, what's next? Yeah.
And you're like, wait, it's like, how do you get pneumonia? And like, I mean, it's still damn near summer over here on the West Coast in terms of the weather. Like, I'm like, how does that happen? But it's interesting because, everybody talks about the Super Bowl hangover and how difficult it is for, teams to lose a Super Bowl and get back the following season. The Chiefs just did it. The Chiefs are proof positive that it can happen. But both times now under Kyle Shanahan that the 49ers have lost the Super Bowl, they've come back the next season and looked like dog shit and also experienced a ton of injuries. And
which happens sometimes after long seasons or long.
Right.
Again, these guys have played 60 games a lot of them last 3 years. It happens. It's the game.
But also I feel like the looking like dog shit and all the injury, they're not mutually exclusive, right? Like they don't look like shit because they have all the injuries. They look like shit and they have a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. Like it's both. It's not one because of the other. Because like I said, like regardless of McCaffrey, Aiyuk, what you still have Deebo, you still have Kittle, you still have, Jordan Mason, who is one of the leading rushers in the NFL. You still have Fred Warner, you still have Nick Bosa, you still have Travis Ford, you still have Diamador Lenore. You have a lot of top end talent that isn't injured on this team. There's no reason for this team. You still have Trent Williams holding down the left side. You still have a rookie. You have a rookie in Dominic Pooney who has elevated the right side of, like, there are still a lot of positive things on this team for them to still look so bad, just so bad. And it just doesn't, to me, that is a reflection on coaching more than it is like bad luck or Super Bowl hangover or whatever. And again, am I saying that Kyle Shanahan deserves to be fired? No, I am not. But at a certain point, you gotta produce what this fan base expects and what this ownership group expects, which is a Super Bowl trophy. And I haven't felt as a fan farther away from that since 2020.
You know what's sticking in my head a little bit, and again, I don't think it's going to be a situation where he gets fired, just in terms of what's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. When I think about this, there were reports, I think Grant Cohn reported it, and maybe a couple other people, that ownership wasn't real happy that they were shelling out all this money to all these players, to Aiyuk and Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams.
It was Grant Cohn.
It was a Grant who said someone had told him that. So I do buy that, and that doesn't mean that they're, again, that it's a fractured relationship or anything like that. They're probably just saying, listen, we're paying this money to these older players. These are your guys. If we're doing this, we need results. We need to come out with something. The way this season's going, in the way it's happened with some of these guys that they've paid or whatever, Williams is getting older. McCaffrey hasn't been on the field yet. Again, Aiyuk, we wish him well and everything, but he's out. He paid him all that money. And then I don't want to look at it this way, because it is, I do always think about the human element, but again, the business element of it. If you're owning a team, I just paid for this investment. I'm not going to have this investment for the next year now. So if they shell out all this money, and if things do start to go downhill, and if the window is closed, they have to turn it around quickly, right? That's something that keeps sticking in my head a little bit as the season goes along.
Calling all Atlanta football fans to downtown Las Vegas. Visit Circa Resort and Casino this December for an incredible $500 all-in ultimate game day getaway. Get a 3-night stay at Circa when Atlanta plays Las Vegas. This includes a $200 bar tab, plus a day bed at Stadium Swim. With 6 temperature-controlled pools and a massive 143-foot screen, it's the world's largest hot tub party. All this for just $500. The all-in package is only available till October 31st, so act now. To book, visit circalasvegas.com today.
It's been an incredible WNBA season so far, and the best is yet to come. There's still time left to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the WNBA. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code QOTC. That's QOTC for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
I did want to talk about Purdy, though, because I do think he's a victim of everything he does is so magnified. And did he play well yesterday?
Wow,
nope.
yeah.
He played terrible. And I've been really complimentary Purdy. I'm a Purdy guy, but I've been saying, if you follow me on Twitter or you listen to the show, I'm telling you right now, he played like garbage. I thought it was inexcusable, some of the interceptions that he threw. He underthrew 2 long passes that could have been touchdowns. He threw 3 boneheaded interceptions. He played terrible. And I'm not excusing that. He really cannot. That might have been the worst game he's ever played. Having said that,
the Ravens
he's
game
a 24. What was that?
The Ravens game.
The Ravens game, but there were some tip balls in that game. It wasn't like there were some bad picks, but it also wasn't like, bro, what the hell are you doing with every interception? I felt like this game, every pick, I was like, is that really Brock back there? Like, what are you doing? Having said that, he's a 24-year-old QB. He's had 28 starts. He's going to have some stinkers in there. CJ Stroud just had 10 completions for 76 yards or whatever it was. Nobody's talking about that game the way that they are with Purdy right now. Now, Purdy played worse than that. I watched both games. Purdy did play worse than Stroud, but he's just so magnified everything that he does. And Purdy's had an 87.8 rating. This is from Josh Dubow, with 14 TD passes and 12 interceptions in his last 12 starts. Okay. 2 of those starts were against the Ravens and the Chiefs, which were atrocious. And he had no touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. But in the other 10 games, he had 14 TD passes and 5 interceptions. So really, that's the product of 2 games, if you're looking at it statistics-wise. Now, I guess I saw reports that he and Kyle Shanahan had a real long, well, it was more like, I guess, what we were told.
A one-sided conversation.
One-sided conversation with Kyle sort of lecturing at him, which, again, is fine. When you play like that, he should, your head coach should be on you. You have to take responsibility, and I'm sure Brock did. But this is not a situation to me where I'm like, oh, well, now we can't pay him. Well, now what are we going to do next year? Because I thought he had a really good season up until now. He wasn't perfect, and there were a few games where you're like, or a couple games. But for the most part, I thought he played really well. It's one game. He's 24 years old. He's had 28 starts, and it's probably against the best defense in the league. And a defense like that we talked about owns your play caller.
Yeah.
So didn't go well. There's 10 more games this season to see what happens. I do not. Maybe Brock will have one more stinker. It happens, but I do not foresee like everything's over and now you can't pay him and everything like that. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks are worth 60 million. So I get that aspect of it. But in terms of paying him to be your franchise QB, I'm not off that boat from 1 week. I think people need to calm down with that. But he does deserve every bit of criticism that he got for this game, because a lot of boneheaded stuff. If he leads them on those touchdowns, it's a different story. If he doesn't have 3 interceptions in Chiefs territory, it could be a different story. Played poorly, and we got to call him out on it.
Yeah, the 49ers remaining schedule is against the Cowboys, the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Bills, the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Cardinals. So when it comes to defenses that are playing really, really well right now, there's really only one that jumps out to me, which is wild, and it's the Bears. The Bears have been playing really good defense for a while now. Since they made that Montez Sweat trade last year, their defense has been playing really, really well under their defensive-minded head coach. But outside of that, the Bills have an okay defense. They show up sometimes. They show up. They don't show up other times. The Packers, they're rounding into form, it seems.
Yeah,
they had
a lot of turnovers.
Had a hell of a game against the Texans. And then I don't know, the Lions, I mean, without Aiden Hutchinson, we'll see if they make a move, but
I think the Lions will, if they play this iteration of the 49ers, will kick the shit out of the 49ers.
Offensively, I agree. I think their offense would score a lot of points, but I don't know that their defense would would stack up. I think it would be very similar to the Vikings game, right? With Sam Darnold, where it's a back and forth game, and then it just ends up that the Lions score a little bit more. Because what was the final score of that game? It was like 30.
The NFC Championship?
No. The Lions Vikings game this past Sunday.
It was more
31-29.
Something like that. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know. I just looked it up. Yeah, 31-29. So again, a back and forth game. But we're talking about a Lions team that put 31 on a Vikings defense that's been really, really good this season. So yeah, no, that Lions offense is really good. Put 47 on the Cowboys, but also only put up 20 against the Cardinals, which is like, again, the NFL sometimes you're just like, I have no idea, which is why I would never bet real money on it. But hey, you're right. I mean, this offense still has an opportunity to get back on track. I don't know that they're going to face a defense the caliber of the Chiefs, outside of, again, the Bears. No idea what to expect from the Packers by that point or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, something's got to change. The reports are that Christian McCaffrey is eyeing a return after the bye against the Bucs. We'll see if that actually happens.
I don't trust any of that. I
don't trust it either, but I'm just saying that's what's being reported right now. John Lynch has said that there hasn't been any setbacks. Again, he has no reason to say if there was, he wouldn't tell us anyway. But I don't think that Christian McCaffrey is the answer for this team. I don't think it, like I said, because he's not going to be 100%. There's no way that he can be. So, I mean, is an 80% Christian McCaffrey enough to jumpstart this offense, or at least to jumpstart this offense in the red zone? Maybe. I don't know. But like I said, Jordan Mason has been a revelation on the ground. So that's not necessarily going to get better. So it just doesn't seem like there's anything that you can look to and be like, well, as long as this happens, right, they can get back on track. I just don't I don't know what. And the other thing that's frustrating about Kyle is like, why hasn't the special teams coordinator been fired? Like, you gotta see how shitty you are on that side of the ball and be like, something's got to change. Like,
every game something happens.
Yeah, you can't just allow it to continue to happen. Like, that's another stubbornness right there. It's like, make a change, do something. And it just feels like he's on autopilot right now. And this season is just maddening. And I don't know. It's frustrating.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Future you faces some big expectations. Work out more, go to bed earlier, and most importantly, make smart money decisions. Thankfully, today you has Bank of America. One place with tools and guidance to help balance tasks from budgeting to saving. So you can just be you, with big plans. Do more with a bank that asks, what would you like the power to do? Explore our tips and more at bankofamerica.com/futureyou.
In another place where he's going to take heat if things don't turn around is defensively, because you did push Steve Wilkes out. He was scapegoated in a lot of ways. And I agreed with that. I didn't think he was a great fit. I get it. But if you're going to do that, the person you bring in has to end up being a stud. You're going to give Sorensen time because Saleh started out slow. I mean, he didn't have the players when he started out, but it took him a little while. It even took D'Amico Ryans a little bit earlier in the season to get going. So he deserves the benefit of the doubt. He deserves some well, I don't want to say the benefit of the doubt because we don't know what he is, but he deserves time to see if he can get everything going. Now, I thought defensively, the secondary is playing well. I thought Lenore had a strong game. Ward had a better game. Mustafa's flying around. Jair Brown is a little nervous there. And Renardo Green looks like in nickel packages. He's going to be the outside guy. I think he played 22 out of 25 snaps there. Love what we're seeing in the secondary. We know the linebackers are going to be what they are until Greenlaw gets back, but
I did love that Winters saw a lot more time. Like I'm glad that it was like, hey, we cannot continue, like, regardless of what, even going up to this game, Sorensen was like, we like Devondre for his veteran, leadership and whatever. But I was glad to see that Winters got more run because he should. Like, Devondre Campbell is a liability. You cannot continue to trot him out there.
100%. And the Chiefs were able to run the ball on the Niners. They ran for 184 yards. It's with
and the Chiefs aren't a good running team.
No, they Kareem Hunt 22 carries, 78 yards, and Mecole Hardman 2 carries for 38 yards. Carson Steele 6 for 17. They just kept running the ball. Mahomes, again, they always have trouble with scrambling quarterbacks. Mahomes ran for 39 yards on 5 attempts, 4 touchdowns on the ground. You brought up a team like the Lions. The Lions have run for 300 yards on the Niners right now. And it's just, I don't know where that fix is. Like you said, I don't know where the fix is, because Kalia Davis made a terrific play where he tipped the ball, an interception. That was a huge play. But unless you make a move, you're kind of stuck with who you got there. You're going to try to break in Everett Anderson, and you got to rely on Lee Collins and those guys. So, I don't know if there's fixes there. But 3 bright spots in the game to me were Lenore, were Mustafa, and the Kalia Davis play was huge defensively. I do want to shout out Jacob Cowing as well, who had 2 big plays, and in a game where the Niners couldn't really get any separation again. And I know Deebo wasn't out there, but Deebo had trouble separating in the Super Bowl. Aiyuk was out there for as long as he wasn't tearing it up when he was out there. Cowing looked pretty explosive, man. Yeah. He's a guy I want to see get more run. And I don't know if Juwan Jennings will be able to play against Dallas, but Jennings is obviously a big safety blanket for Purdy, and get Cowing in there, man. Again, if Purdy leads him, that was a touchdown.
Yeah. Also, get Cowing in there and get Ronnie Bell off the football field. What are we doing?
I don't understand.
How do you see that play to Cowing and then bring him off the field and put Ronnie Bell on? Like, what again?
It's the stubbornness we talked about.
I just don't get it. Like, but stubborn. Like, what has Ronnie Bell done to earn time? Like, I don't understand. Like, no, that's fine. It's He's stubborn. That's fine. But Ronnie Bell has done nothing. He's done less than nothing. And he's still getting run out there, and it just makes 0 sense.
Other than not being a rookie, I guess. That's the only thing I can think of.
He's a second-year player.
Yeah, it's right. There's no rhyme or reason to it. But Cowing, the way that he looked, you just see that. Again, just a lame, just anybody who doesn't even know football can just look at that and say, oh, well, he's fast. Well, he made some plays. Let's get the ball in his hands. So I hope that he does, man. I hope that he gets him out there, because if still not going crazy, still think they can be a playoff team here. 9 wins is probably going to win the NFC West, 10. But if there is a blessing in losing some of your starters, your big time guys, is that you can get a look at other players. So Hufanga, you want him on the field, but he's not there now. We're going to look at Mustafa. Well, Aiyuk's not going to be there now, so we can get a look at Pearsall. We can get a look at Cowing. So use this opportunity to see what your next window is going to look like. Don't be stubborn. Go into next year and say, okay, we saw what Pearsall can do. We saw what Cowing can do. We know that we can let these guys get in here seamlessly. Don't say, oh, well, Cowing had 5 targets. We don't know. We don't know what he's going to be. Give him opportunities, man. Give him opportunities. If Aiyuk is not going to be there, Chris Conley is not part of your future.
No.
See what Pearsall can do. Let's see what Cowing can do. Ronnie Bell's not going to be part of your future.
Right.
So see what those guys do and get him in. It's frustrating as hell, man. It really is.
One thing, a friend of the show, Jason Aponte, tweeted this out earlier today. Again, that idea of bringing somebody in via trade, and I'm, with Jennings being injured again, I mean, he'll be back, but we don't know when. Obviously Aiyuk is gone for the season. Ronnie Bell doesn't deserve to be on this team. There's an obvious upgrade there. One of the his idea was to target Deontay Johnson from the Panthers, which I think would be a pretty adept move. He's kind of like a turbocharged Emmanuel Sanders.
I like his game a lot. I'm a fan.
Yeah, which I think would fit in pretty well. But at the same time, like you've got Jacob Cowing, who could arguably probably do a lot of the same for you if you give him an opportunity. So why waste future draft capital to bring a different wide receiver in when you drafted 2 in the in this year's draft? Like, again, give them an opportunity, because Deebo and Jennings are going to be your top 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
No reason why Pearsall and Cowing can't be those next 2 in line. And then you've got a guy like Chris Conley who, you can put in on special teams. And then, like I said, just leave Ronnie Bell on the curb somewhere, because that's where he needs to be.
Deontay Johnson's in the last year of his contract, which I did not realize.
Yeah.
So he would be a rental. The only way you make that move is if you're in it. And when is it? November 4th is the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming they beat the Cowboys, they're going to be in it. Probably don't have to give up a lot there because you're getting the rental. That's actually now you got me thinking on Deontay Johnson. Because I think
I didn't come up with it. That was a Ponte, but yeah,
it was a Ponte. That's good thinking on his part. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They have to do something. If they really want to make a run for the playoffs, they have to do something. I still believe you got to get defensive line. That's where it needs to be. But you have to do something. Mario asked us, given Aiyuk's status, is it a foregone conclusion that we had another wide receiver? I don't know, simply because what Brian and I were saying is with those young guys, they may want to get a look at them. Jennings has proven that he can carry the load. I mean, he certainly looked really good early in the season. And if you have Deebo there with Kittle, they can get by. And then you give Pearsall some reps and Cowing some reps. So I don't know that they'll do that. They have to get better in the trenches. They can do that on the defensive line. Offensive line, what are you going to do? I know some of the numbers look good here and there. You got Pooney and you got Trent Williams. Everyone else there to me is a liability.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Aaron Banks.
Including Aaron Banks. Did you see that play where Leo Chenal, the linebacker, absolutely blew Aaron Banks up in the hole? And
I didn't. I saw him pull and fall down. I saw that one when him and Sauber fell on each other.
Yeah. No, it was a Mason run where Chenal blows Banks up, like just absolutely shoves him back, and then still makes the play on the ball carrier because Banks didn't even get a hand on him. It was, and again, Chenal is a linebacker, so
there are
not a great rep. Not a great rep.
I don't care what the PFF scores say. I don't care metrics. I don't care this and that. There are if you look at the games and you watch, there are 3 replacement level players on the offensive line. Banks, Brendel cost them. I don't know how many times he cost them. In McKivitz, McKivitz will have some good reps. There's a lot of reps in pass blocking where he gets blown up. Blown up. Like not even close. You have replacement level players at right tackle, center, and left guard. Love what Pooney can be. Trent Williams is Trent Williams, but even he's older. Eventually, you're going to have to replace him in the next couple of years. And when you play a defense like the Chiefs, they only gave up 1 sack, but come on, the Niners got worked, dude.
Yeah.
They got worked. Just look at it with the naked eye. And guys like Chris Jones are going to continue to work them until they make a priority, like the Chiefs did with the interior
like
of
the Detroit Lions did.
Like the Detroit Lions did. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know they have injuries there right now, but with Zach Frazier and Daniels, they have a really good interior.
A guy that I targeted for the 49ers.
Yeah, they have a really good interior. They're 5-2 and they're running the ball and they look better. I feel like you have to start investing in that a little bit. I know that they did with Pooney, but center's always been a big position with Kyle Shanahan. What are we doing with Brendel? Make it a priority. Get yourself a good center. You've had Alex Mack. You went out and made Weston Richburg a priority when you first was it 2018. They went out and made a big free agent splash with him. You have to make center a priority again. You have to get better in the interior.
Yeah. I mean, I had posted, overall, and again, it's lifted a lot by Pooney and Trent Williams. When it comes to pass blocking, the 49ers have been one of the better pass blocking units in the NFL. Again, buoyed largely by Trent Williams and Dominic Pooney. I had tweeted that out, and someone said something about, is this the year to address center? I was like, the past 5 years have been the year to address center, and they just haven't done it, right? Like the 49ers have Aaron Banks instead of Creed Humphrey, right? Like I just like the Steelers have, or the 49ers have Ricky Pearsall, the Steelers have Zach Frazier, right? Like there has been an opportunity to address the position, and they just haven't. And again, it's just maddening. And it's like you said, it points to the stubbornness of like, no, like I'm not going to start rookies at certain positions, like center, like wide receiver, like whatever. And it's just like you're screwing yourself and your team through your own stubbornness, and it's coming home to roost in a nightmare season now. And isn't gonna cost him his job? I doubt it. But I mean, if this season continues to go south like it has, I don't know, especially with, the likelihood that a guy like Ben Johnson will be available. He went back to Detroit for one more season, I think, because he wanted to pursue a Super Bowl with that squad. But I have to assume that after the season, he's going to be looking for a head coaching position. Could you transition from, the guy that you brought in as an offensive genius to kind of the next guy on the list? Maybe. I don't know. I doubt it, right? They just got extensions. Got extensions. So
the only way Kyle would lose his job, assuming let's say they go 7-10, right? And it's just a nightmare season. The only way Kyle loses his job is if like there's a total falling out with ownership, where there's an argument and an FU thing, and we're kind of near something similar to Harbaugh, where like this just marriage is over. Yeah, I don't think they're there. I don't think anybody's at that point.
I agree, but one thing that I am starting to recognize is that I think the offensive genius label is probably a little less apropos for Kyle Shanahan now, because like I said, I've watched him get his lunch money stolen from every single quality defensive coordinator that he comes up against. And after a while, you start to realize, hey, that's probably on him. And there's been no adaptation. There's been no change. There's been no anything. Nothing has changed from what happened in the Super Bowl. Nothing has changed from what happened against the Ravens. Nothing has changed from what happened against Brian Flores and Jim Schwartz. And like I said, all these guys that have held Kyle Shanahan and his offense to like under 23 points every time they face them. Like at a certain point, you got to go, okay, so maybe there are some things that I could probably change, but more often than not, the lip service is execution. It's just execution. If we execute better, then, and it's like, no, like you got to own some of this. You've got to own some of it, right? Stop just putting it all on your players, right? And it felt like that. It felt like that after this game, right? Like it genuinely felt like he threw Brock Purdy under the bus a little bit after this game. Now, did Brock Purdy play like shit? Sure, right? But he's operating your offense and running your play calls, and like, take some ownership, dude. Take some ownership.
I think fans get a little frustrated with the accountability. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of accountability there. A lot of like, I screwed up. Like that was, it's on me type thing. And that can get frustrating. I just always think back to the Saints game. And was it 2021, 22? No, it was 2009. What was the crazy Saints game? 2019, because Emmanuel Sanders was on the team. Oh my God, was that long ago? Holy shit, it was that long ago.
Yeah, this is the Super Bowl year.
That was a great game, and he's calling wide receiver passes. He's having Juszczyk get a handoff and flip the ball to Mostert. I was like, this is great. I love this. And I'm not saying you should run a gadget play every game, but get a little creative here and there. Do something. I don't know.
And we did see that. We did see that in the Super Bowl with the Jennings touchdown pass.
Yes.
And I've called for that. Yeah. And I've called for that a lot, right? Because I think people forget Juwan Jennings started his collegiate career as a quarterback. He didn't transition to wide receiver until he was at Tennessee. And so I'm like, why don't take advantage of that? Like, the guy can throw the football. He made it to college football as a quarterback. Like, obviously he can throw the ball. Like, let's take advantage of stuff like that. So, Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more creativity and just, I don't know, like you said, some accountability, some wearing of it by Kyle Shanahan, if you will. Like, just wear it. Just wear this loss. Just be like, you know what? Steve Spagnuolo just stole my lunch money again. I've got to be better. I've got to be better. We've got to be better. We need better execution, but I've got to call a better game.
Yeah,
like, it's not that hard. It's not. It's
even
not
if you
that
don't mean
hard.
it.
And
even if you're lying
right,
through your teeth, you lie about injuries all the time.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
pretend you're talking about an injury. It's madness. Well, it's frustrating as hell, man. And I know, again, we can hang our hats on a little bit. I don't even know. How old are you?
42.
Okay, so you were old enough to know the 94 championship anyway.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Right,
no,
so we've seen that. We have the title, but I always say these fans who are, what has it been, 20? Well, it's been 34 years. So if you're in your early 30s, all you've known is pain from the 49ers.
Yeah.
So I feel for the fans who've come so close, and it's just been gut punch after gut punch. Because right now this team is trending towards the 90s Bills, right? What other team? The Jazz with Malone and Stockton. That's kind of what they're trending towards right now. That sort of team, and that's, I feel for the fans who haven't gotten to see the title, getting so close, and then if that window closes again, then how long is it going to be? It's been a long time. It's been a really long time.
But the one thing in the NFL that can open a window faster than anything else is a quarterback and head coach combo that that can win games. And again, you look at Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, right? Like no one expected the Rams to be good last year, and all of a sudden they make the playoffs. Why? Because Sean McVay is a great head coach and Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Do we think that Brock Purdy is not at Matthew Stafford's level yet, but there have been glimpses of greatness from him. And so, if that can grow, then, I don't know that the window closes, right? It may close a little bit, but there's always still going to be that opening. And then, if you can reconstruct this roster around a very high priced quarterback, then you might be on another run. But I don't know. It just, this season, this does not feel, this is not a Super Bowl team right now.
No.
Full stop. It's maybe a playoff team just based on the remaining schedule and the weakness of the NFC West and the NFC overall. But the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, and probably those three teams are just 2 tiers ahead of the 49ers right now.
Yeah.
And there's still time for that to change. But as it stands right now, this season is just a big woof.
Well, we got 10 weeks, 11 weeks to turn it around. And if not, I don't know, man. I'm not going to be happy the next couple months.
Yeah.
I'm going to get,
season will not be fun.
More and more pessimistic. Oh God, could you imagine the offseason if they don't make the playoffs with what we've been through with them making long runs? It's going to be unbearable. It's going to be unbearable.
Yeah, especially when the Brock Purdy contract negotiations go into week 1.
Can you imagine? We got to go. Maybe this is a conversation for another day, but if they ever did say we're not paying this guy, so now you're going into your 9th season, and this would have been your 4th QB, essentially. Yeah. I know they've played more than 4, but Jimmy Garoppolo is our franchise QB. No, he's not. We're trading for Trey Lance. No, he's not. We found this guy Purdy. If you're 2.5 years later saying, oh, no, he's not, we're going to get Kirk Cousins for a year or 2 or whatever. At some point, too, that gets to be just what are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah. We're not there. I don't anticipate we're going to be there. I'm a Brock guy until I'm not a Brock guy anymore. I'm still a Brock guy. Yeah. So we'll see. But these are all questions when a game like this happens that get raised and people worry. It's the nature of the NFL. It's week to week. You can only react to the week, and then you have 6 days to sit and just overanalyze and overthink everything.
Yeah, because ultimately you got supremely outclassed by a team that is a true Super Bowl contender, and it made you realize that you are not. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little sobering today. All right, we're out of here. Please subscribe, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. For Brian, I'm Al.
Later.
9, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hey!
2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
What's better than watching your team win? Winning money while you do it. I'm Jim Costa, and on Cash the Ticket, Mike Valeni and I give you the edge to make every game playable. College football, NFL, we're breaking it all down game by game. Your podcast feed is going to be filled, and you're going to love it. You can click on the games you care about. We do it all. With our analysis, we're finding games that other people aren't talking about. We're turning every Saturday and every Sunday into days where you got a chance to win. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Cash the Ticket with us. Follow Cash the Ticket in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.